what have you done for me lately? It's Coons, what have y'all done for us lately? And if there's no answer, the only thing we owe them.
Well, it's been a while. Welcome to Let's Talk Too. And tonight, we got Sister Azima here, and I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who's been asking where have we been. Uh, Sometimes, like I always say, you got to do a reboot, you got to do a reset because you never know how you got to recalibrate, not just your work, your personal life, just your body in general. So, um, I have been going through trying to take care of some things on my end. Sister Azima has been taking care of some things on her end, but we're back. Hopefully, we'll be uh, we continue on our every other Tuesday show. Um, so we're here, Sister Azima. What's going on?
Oh, I'm so glad to see everybody. Sorry for such a long time. Like you said, it's been a lot going on in my life, just like him. The best thing I can say is that I moved. That's why you see all these boxes behind me. I'm still unpacking, but I'm very, very happy. I love where I am. I'm enjoying it. But I'm so glad to get back and talk with everybody. I promised you all that we would have a second etymology, and you know what that is. That's the ability to break the words down, look at their origin and their original meaning and purpose. And so we are going to do the etymology tonight.
Well,
Um,
hopefully, right. I will be making a move soon, right? How
yes,
long? I told myself I'm giving myself a month to get everything situated. How long did it take you to get situated once you made your move?
took me 2 months to pack up all my things, and I'm just one person, so it took me 2 months to pack up a one bedroom apartment, and my apartment was pretty big. It was almost 1,000 square feet, so it took me 2 months, and it's going to take me 2 months to really go through and unpack everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. I'm beyond the halfway point. I only got 40% more to do.
And you guys make sure you hit the. I had noticed when the last time I did a show that how YouTube is with the algorithm. So a lot of times when you haven't been doing a show in a while, or some of the content may not be platable, but it may not violate their guidelines. They tend to do this shadow ban, whatever they do. So make sure you guys hit the like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button. That's how the show gets promoted through YouTube's uh, requested or promoted content. So, Sister Azim, let me ask you a question before we begin about it, right? About etymology, right?
Hmm.
Why would you say it's so important for us to understand words and the true meaning and what is intended when we speak to each other when when others speak to us in reference to language?
Okay, we're going to use something real simple. When I was growing up, the word faggot meant cigarettes. The original meaning of that word is bundles of sticks used as money. That's what faggots were, bundles of sticks. So, at a time when societies and cultures and towns and enclaves and villages did not use what we consider money, They had to have a medium of exchange. And since firewood was needed, they would gather all the branches that fell off the trees and the twigs and bundled it together, and they called them faggots. And you could barter them for chickens or eggs or meat or clothing, and that was important. Nowadays, you don't even hear the word, but in the 70s, the word began to mean homosexual men. And you have to be careful, because if you really know the meaning of the word, it takes you back to its original purpose. And then what that does is that it causes you to think. And when you think, you're going to vibrate in that original purpose, the original origin. And when you do that, it removes fear, it removes misinformation, it removes the ability to have you caught up in a system. The current system requires people to be afraid. It also requires you to not think. It promotes misogyny, racism, a lot of things. And when it does that, you don't get a chance to know who you are, because you end up being swept up in the language, just in the language. To be gay now means to be a homosexual. When I was growing up, it meant to be happy. Okay. Transgender. Look at that word. And I'm not going to harp on it long, but break it down. Trans means to move or change gender. You can't do it because the chromosomes are fixed. So when you have other people discerning what you need to know, it removes your ability to think logically, to be able to analyze things. That's why it's very important to know the origin of the word, so that you can see how it has transformed over time. And then you realize it's nowhere near the original meaning. Okay. And when you go back to the original meaning and you start looking at, remember, laws are written in the origin of the language. So if you don't know what that language is, you leave yourself open for a lot of things. And then they'll always tell you ignorance of the law is no excuse. Hold on now, I didn't know that word meant that. And there's nothing in today's educational system that encourages you, one, to think outside of the box, two, to really research and know what you're talking about. What I love about etymology is that you are taught to speak what you know and know what you speak. And that brings about the ability to address certain things, even on the job, even in your social relationship with people. If you know what the origin of that word is, you're able to break it down and use it correctly. Your monikers change. People change around you when you bring logic, compassion, and love to the table. And love is an acronym. I'm going to have to find what that acronym means, but it does have something to do with vibratory equilibrium. I know LOVE is vibratory equilibrium. And I don't remember what O was. I think it's overcoming it, but I'm not sure what L meant. So it's an acronym, or as we call them, what is it? It's a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so symbols are not good or bad. They are just how we take the energy, manipulate it, massage it. It becomes, this symbol. The letters that you see are really symbols of energy forces coming together to create a particular sound. Eh, I, ah, oh, oo. Okay, these are sounds, and the symbols represent those sounds. So when you're learning your words, you have the ability to speak. Well, everybody says the word David, but it's David. David. Okay. Why? Because DA has one set of connotations, it's two words, and VID has a separate set of connotations. So it is imperative. I encourage people, I don't care what age you are, start teaching your children to look at the structure of a word, why it's there, what it means. Um, it really does remove a lot of fear. You don't have that, oh God, there are ghosts around me, there's this, and I'm scared of that. You have the opportunity and the responsibility to really know what's going on. I'm not saying that there aren't, I don't want to call them dark forces, but low level vibratory energy that understands how to manipulate itself into physical form and can do physical harm. But if you're not afraid of it, this is not going to come looking for you. It looks for the weak, it looks for those that are afraid. And when you do have a moment that you run into a situation and you have the ability to speak it, remember those words are power. You're casting a spell down. You hear people say, the devil is a lie, all of that. And I laugh because if you take the word devil, Devil, turn it around, Lived. Look at evil, Livevil. Know what these words mean. There is no good or bad. This is what I taught my daughters. There is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. There are levels of energy that move, and you will be amazed at what that does. Also, etymology prevents you from remaining a victim.
Mm.
Everybody on this planet at one time, their culture, their society has been enslaved. But for some reason, we hang on to it. It's our mark of something. And what is this mark? It keeps us victimized. And there are Black people, there are Black faces in high spaces that like this because they benefit from it. But if you have the ability to know and understand, what I really want you to do is to understand. There's a difference. When you're understanding, you are under the guise of somebody else's version of what that word means. But if you understand it, that means you took the time to go out and research the word, break it down, and move that energy within you. Okay, now I know what this word means, and nobody can come and talk to me any kind of way because I know how to use that word to assist me when I need it. And I also know how to use it to shut down things that don't need to come to me. So that's why it's important.
Wow, that's a great definition, and like we had discussed this before, and I know you always explain it to me per se when we conversate. But I think that a lot of times a person may not understand the depths of it, and on a vibrational level, definitely, you could be a well quote unquote educated person, but you're not looking at it from a vibrational standpoint and understanding when you say those words, how they literally vibrate off of your ears,
Hmm.
the speaker's ears, the tone in which they're saying it, and literally what they mean, and how they can affect how you intermingle with another human being.
Right. Let me just throw this out here. When I say sexual, what connotation comes to your mind?
Mm, I don't think for me it would be negative, but you're talking to me. I mean, I think that the way our society is today,
Hmm.
like literally today, April 23rd, like
Hmm.
everything is overly quote unquote sexual. Everything is sexual in nature.
Hmm.
It's over sexualized. We see it all day. It's being promoted basically in media and entertainment.
So if you look up the origin of the word sex, sex, it's going to point you to the Latin word sect, sec. Sexual means to segregate, to separate. to allow an individual to have better understanding without working in the whole. And here you thought it meant being intimate and having all of this over here, and it only means to separate, to segregate, so that one can have better understanding or grasp certain aspects of what you're looking for through magnification by separating. So the whole purpose of it is to segregate, to separate. It gives you the word separation, segregation. It also gives you the word sections. So that word basically means dividing, okay? Removing something from the whole so you can better focus in on what the properties are that make it what it is. How did it get to this level? You have to go back and look at Nero of Rome. You have to go back and look at all the great Caesars of Rome, how they used that. Okay. Go back and look at the Borgias. They used it to, when they would sexualize people, they would basically take young boys who might remind them of a woman that was in their life that they may have beaten to death because it was acceptable. And with that, they felt lonely and they had remorse. So if they ran upon a young boy between the ages of 11 and 14, pre-puberty or pre-pubescent, pubescent, then they would remove their testicles and force them to dress or act like the woman that they missed. So now they have segregated that young person, not only from people similar to them, but they removed their masculine traits. They've also removed their ability to function in society in in a normal manner, and they have to take up life as a woman in society now. Many of them killed these Caesars, which was like a rank or a title. They themselves would be basically ripped apart. So we have to go back and understand that most of the things that we're seeing is acted out of ignorance, fear, control, domination. And so they take the simple words, love. Everybody thinks, I hear people say the suffering of Jesus, the passion. The word passion means just that, to suffer. I don't know if I want to be passionate enough to suffer. So you must know what your words mean. Okay. Compassion means I'm going to suffer with you.
And you guys in the chat, as we're going along, feel free to ask Sister Azima any questions that she may that any questions that she may have been that's in reference to what she's talking about, or in reference to etymology as a whole. So don't be afraid to ask a question. No question is too simplistic, or no question is too hard, or or dumb, or just we're learning and we're educating ourselves so we could better be able to communicate with ourselves and know, like I always say, know what others are saying to you, because people could say, you like she used mentioned law, and just for an example, you people start speaking legal terms to you, and next thing you know, you swindled out of your house, or you
Mhm.
swindled out of your car, or you swindled out of a job, because you may not know a legal term that's being used. And this is why they always say, get a lawyer. But but you'll be trying to understand, or not understand, and then you'll be they're speaking a language that you don't understand. So it's very important to always, Sister Azima said it, like you saying you don't know when it comes to law is not an excuse for not knowing. You're expected to know.
Right. And here's something, if you just get Black's Law, it's a volume of books. Most of it was written by the Tartars and the Phoenicians because they were the ones that sailed the oceans and did trade. And so they would write not laws, but policies, regulations, and contracts, because that's what law means. You are contracting your services in order, instead of you being a farmer or a construction worker or some type of artist, or you're building or creating something, you are exchanging your labor through contractual means in order to earn your keep.
And
Okay.
she even explained the definition, actually, the origin of the word tort law. Tort law.
Right.
She just
Mhm.
explained to us, and it's very, very important when you're dealing with property
Right.
to
Tort
understand what's
law.
going on. A lot of people, definitely our people,
Hmm.
um, native blacks, we got wiped out as far as our land when it comes to eminent domain with the interstate system.
Hmm.
And they really that's because we didn't know the law and what they can do because of eminent domain, and certain things wouldn't have happened had we known that. So it's very important. And
And tort law really means territory. It's the law of territory.
hmm
And the Phoenicians and the Tartars who sailed the ocean became their land. And any land that touched the ocean, which is all the lands on this planet, it gave them the right to have maritime law. And maritime law would extend all the way 50% inward. Why? Because commerce had to go off the boat and 50% in towards the land. It didn't impact the farmers because the farmers were self-contained. And anytime towns grew up, or villages, or hamlets, or even cities around farming industry, because it became an industry later, those people did not have to interact that much with tort law. They had sovereign law. So it is, what I'm teaching you is that everything here is in a circle. It's a 360-degree circle. Okay. The syllabus that I passed out, I want y'all to keep it because it's part of a class process that I'm doing now with a group of women. Um, and it's imperative that we understand where we came from in the beginning. We didn't look like this. We didn't have physical form. We would be talking about bifurcating, which means to divide. When it divided, when consciousness began to become, when awareness really gained consciousness, it was lonely. All it could do was dream. That's why you hear the Australians and a lot of people from Africa, Haiti, even the indigenous people of America, which they were brown skinned, melanated people. They will always talk about the dream time. And that is where consciousness became so aware, or awareness became so conscious, it began to have lust or desire. That desire was to experience. X means to go outside of, because it already knew what it was like internally. So it decided it needed to bifurcate. And bifurcating means to divide. And what it did was that it divided along not genders, but frequencies. There's a feminine frequency called yang, yin, and the masculine called yang, yang. Okay. Masculine energy tends to be very analytical, separative, um, highly logical. It removes emotion. Okay. When you are emoting, you are taking all of your vibratory energy and you're placing it on someone else so they can feel what you feel.
mm,
That's the feminine aspect. The masculine aspect says, you can't expect me to feel that if you want me to build the house. I can't be emotional about building the house because if I hurt myself, I won't build the house. Okay. So I have to be very practical, very logical, very separative, very segregative. I must remove all of the emotion so that I can build the house, make the bridge, create cities. So, what has happened is that over time, with changing how we use words, they have you thinking it's a male female situation. What it is that when they bifurcated, the masculine energy felt fear and alone. And the way he could express that, because he didn't emote the masculine energy, was to become very controlling, very dominating, very narcissistic. Okay. Only to control the fact that if any aspect of his emotions went out there, he would never be able to accomplish. Masculine energy could never accomplish what we wanted. Feminine energy, when we bifurcated, took it in traumatically. Oh, how can I live without the other half of me? And so we became trauma based, which makes us emotional. Your role through etymology, through understanding frequency vibration, is to come back to the whole. The whole doesn't mean you're going to go back up there in heaven and be with Jesus and God and Abraham and all of these wonderful versions or aspects of the divine source. What it's telling you is that you will have a joined consciousness. And when you join your consciousness with the masculine side of you as a woman, as well as the feminine side of you, you have the ability to remove doubt. You have the ability to remove anxiety and hate. And all you can work from is a place of love, respect, duty, um, gracefulness, graciousness. Okay. With men, when you have the ability to have a unified consciousness, you learn how to take emotions and use them in a logical, practical way without being segregative, without being hurtful or dominating. But when it calls for you to be that, you can. Just like when it calls for us to throw our life on the line to protect the the weak, we do. And so our role, your twin flame, is the ability to go back to a joined consciousness. We will never share the same vibratory frequency um, in a non-form, because we're going to be in form. We created this form, and why we created it, we'll talk about it as we go through the syllabus. And let me put a side note. If we're doing 2 podcasts a month, the first podcast will be talking about what's on the syllabus. The second podcast, if you have any questions or you want an answer to something, write it down, and then in the second podcast, we can begin to have an open forum discussion, which will allow us to explore and move through the process. Okay.
Yeah,
Because my job is to help you do what's necessary for you.
yeah. So you guys in the chat, you guys heard. If you're going to participate with what we're trying to do, you can just put your question up, and I actually can. I remember the question. I actually be able to save the question, and then, like she said, she's just explaining the syllabus right now. So the next time we get together will be the day that we go over the syllabus, and then the following Tuesday after that, the fourth Tuesday after that, we will answer questions and have a discussion on what the syllabus entails, and be able to really get in depth of it before she starts explaining it in its totality.
Okay, so now that you have an overview of etymology, you got any words out there you want to look up and find the origin? Because I'm like, look at the words.
Our
You
chat quiet today.
well, we probably it's because we probably started late, and I apologize for
It's
that.
okay. It's perfectly fine. I hope that they understand us for being able to not be available, which is kind of hard sometimes. As much as you try to plan shows and try to plan things don't always work out. Like you told me right before the show, you got a call. You had to go boogie on down.
Yeah, yeah. So,
You
so
have to
you
really
all,
do that.
it's time for me to renew my license.
Oh, you got one here. Dorf L. What's going on? There you go. Asia.
Okay. So, what does the origin of Asia? We do know that the Ainu people, which they later called, well, I can't say it. It's a clicking word, were originally from North Africa, and they went into what we now know as Asia. First, let me say that we were the only people on this planet. We were melanated people in various stages of melanation. Okay, from albinism, the lack of pigmentation, down to the purple black. Okay, so when we were Pangea, and then when the planet began to expand outward, we still were the only people here. We will learn over time that many other groups of people came to our planet. This is a seed planet, SEED. All life can be seeded here because it met the criteria of a cosmic womb: dark, moist, filled with life, energy. Vibratory frequencies were in abundance, but always in harmonic succession. This allows anything that you're incubating to grow, to nourish itself. When energy began to take form, realizing that there were certain divine principles they had to deal with in order to create physical form. Your physical form literally vibrates your frequency. That's the whole purpose of the bone structure. Outside of holding up your skin, it literally vibrates. If you look at the Djed, DJED, it looks like the spine of a person. And the Djed is something we see in Egypt. It looks like a rook in a chess game. Okay. And the rook has this rigid piece down the side of it. And that is known as the Djed. The Djed is the spine of the body. Why? Because the spine carries the 33 vertebrae needed to vibrate the pineal gland at the root of the brain, okay, more to the center, to allow you to speak with your temples to talk to who you call God, whether it's Abraham or whether it's, Allah or Hindu, Shiva, Shinto, Jesus. You are speaking through vibratory language to the God force within you. And the body has to be able to vibrate to that.
You
That is
said
your Kundalini energy. Okay.
you said seen can mean said by interchanging vowels.
Seed. Uh huh.
Uh,
So,
etymology of Anuka. You see that, Sister Azima?
which one? Etymology.
That
Uh huh. Of Anunnaki. Okay. That word just means travelers from the sky. It does not depict any one particular culture or species of life.
this is an interesting word here. Column.
Okay. So we have column, we have the word Anunnaki, we have the word seed, and we have the word Asia. So let's look at the origin of Asia.
Like I said, you guys in the chat, if you would like to
Okay, so
We
here,
want everybody to join us. Go ahead,
here's what.
Sister Azima, excuse me.
This is why I ask you all to get a physical dictionary, a Webster dictionary, preferably an older one. 1980s, 1970s have access to it. Why? Because they will tell you Arcadia, or the melanated skinned people who lived in what we know as Asia. If you use Wikipedia or the current dictionaries, they can electronically alter any definition that you have. And they'll always start you with the Greeks, but the Greeks didn't exist, not the Greeks that you know now. Okay. They were called uh, Lafitanians, which we now know as the Latin language. So the Greeks weren't there, the Greeks that you know now. And it will give you an opportunity to see what was going on with Helen of Troy. Okay. The whole Trojan horse thing. People say it's a metaphor. It is a metaphor in it, but they physically made a horse. Okay. Because there was fighting going on. And most of the fighting is infighting within families. Okay. Um, Biological families, siblings. That came about with the Anunnaki because they themselves were fighting within their own subset of people. But the origin of the word Asia, according to the Greeks, was referenced by Herodotus as Anatolia, or to the Persians, which means the East. So Asia only means the East. You thought it meant Chinese people. Well, you're going to have to learn that word, Chai and knees. Okay? Chai means what? This, your spiritual self, your chi, your chai. We call it Chinese, but it's chi. Your chi, chi, chi. That's your spiritual self. When Marco Polo went to China, he wrote back to Isabel of Spain and said, look here, these are Kafirs, which means they're black. These are black folks. They Kafirs. They are magical. He said that to her. They come together in a temple, an open building, no roof, and they make these sounds. We are meditating. What are we saying? People say Om. What you're doing is that you are reciting the frequency that you're hearing. And in that frequency, you're speaking back. And when you speak back to the frequency, you are one with the elements around you, which means that when you need rain, it will rain. When you don't need rain, it's not going to rain. We are not in harmonic balance with the energies around us.
Mm,
They
mm.
have seeded the clouds, those being the 1% who think it's important for them to control. They seed the clouds, with depleted uranium and all this kind of stuff, which makes it rain. And then when you don't have any control over it, you get these unnecessary floods. Now, those people, that 1%, is hard of hearing. They don't want to hear what you have to say. Then it becomes hokey pokey, voodoo, old time China. Oh, the Asian people, they look so funny. They do this. That is mockery. And the reason they do that is because they are in fear of what we can do in the collective. So they go out of their way, becoming very masculine, logical, domineering, controlling. So much so that they are willing to kill people to convert them, bring about trauma to convert them to religion, not spirituality. So when you have the origin of the word and people say, we're going to Asia, they never talked about Asia when I was growing up. They called it the Orient because you would turn yourself to face east. Why? Because our sun rises in the east. Okay. That sun gives us a lot of energy. I gave you a second part of that. There's a syllabus and then the cosmic frequencies. And it's important that you have that because this is what impacts you every single day. It sets your mood. You all in a good mood. You go to bed around 10 o'clock. Next thing you know, you're up at 2 and you're mad. Why are you mad? Because the frequencies have shifted and it's impacting your frequency as an Aries or a Taurus or a Capricorn or an Aquarius. And you are not aware of that, that each hour, the frequency changes very minutely, but so do you. And it might cause you some form of fear, distress. You may wake up, oh my God, I had a horrible dream. And yet you had to wake up to get a bearing on yourself because your pineal gland was going crazy. It was vibrating at such a rate, it makes you nervous. And so we must understand that what I'm telling you, we work in a circle. There's no such thing as an individual. We are fragmented energies of the whole. Some of us have a better ability to shine our light real bright, and you just feel safe around them. Some of us, our energy is real low. Everything here has energy, even animals that have been gone to the slaughterhouse for you to eat. They vibrate at milli hertz, milli, 1,000th of a hertz energy, while plants are vibrating at 7, 8, 200, 400, 100,000 hertz, which means that if it's alive and vibrating and you eat that, what does that do for you? It keeps you alive and vibrating. And it allows you to think clearly. So I always tell people, let's start with the origin of words. So we now know that Asia means what? To the east. That's all that it means. Go east, young man. Go east, young woman. It's the east. Now, if you're looking at the word column,
You guys in the chat, make sure you like,
it's
share,
an old
subscribe.
French word, and it means columpine or column. Column means pillar. Now, in the African and Australian forms of math, a pillar always carried the number 100. Okay. So if you put 10 columns of 10 marks, you got 100. So a pillar or a column was how we set multiplication up. Think about it. When you're doing multiplication, you put one number at the top and a number underneath. It's in a column, a row underneath each other. Okay. It is important to understand this. So now when you see the word column, you're going to think pillar. When you think pillar, you're going to think, oh, 100. Oh, mathematical equation. Oh, it also represents the musical notation that you see on musical charts. Okay. You got 5 lines, 4 spaces. Come on now. That
Sister
goes to
Azima,
9.
this is what he said. Hold on.
Okay.
He said column goes with the jet or spinal column. And
Right.
then he said would the jet be 100?
It'll be 100 hertz.
Mm.
Hmm. And it could vibrate to 10 times that amount because it is the spine. When the spine becomes rigid, that is usually when you're getting ready to go into dream state. It does that to keep the body from getting up and walking around and hurting yourself. And it's also when the spiritual side of you leaves the soul. The soul is operating the body, keeping it alive, causing it to breathe, all of that. you go out and do the work. And you know that. You
you
all,
you
some of
you
you all
there,
go
but you ain't there.
right, and you don't understand why, but there's something pressing, you go to bed, you might not even toss and turn, but you're in some type of deep REM sleep, rapid eye movement. You get up in the morning, you're like, man, I went to bed, had 12 hours sleep, I'm tired. That's because your spiritual energy went out to do the work. And then 4 or 5 days later, what you were thinking about comes into play, and you're like, wow, that was so easy. You've done the work. And you don't realize that. We are not taught the purpose of our body, we're not taught the purpose of why we're here. We're here to learn. We might have been in a different species of people and had a traumatic uh, incident, but you're going to come here and learn to heal. And there are frequencies like fifth dimension and sixth dimension frequencies that allow you to heal. But when we get here, we're slammed into this body. We're coming through that birth canal. That baby is being twisted. People don't realize it's a it is trauma to give birth to that child,
Mm.
because the uterus is corkscrewing that child through the birth canal. Just like we're in a spiral, it is corkscrewing that baby through that birth canal.
And Sister Azima,
Yes.
respectfully, as a woman of a certain age, I don't think, and I don't want to assume for my audience or people watching, you're a woman, I'm a man, and I
Uh-huh.
don't think a lot of men really understand what you guys go through, like you said,
Hmm.
in the phases of pregnancy, all the way to birth. Not
Yes.
just not just the baby, but you as a woman.
Hmm. There is a lot that goes through it, but it also depends on, number one, your mindset. Number two, how you eat. Um, I had 4 daughters. I had 2 miscarriages. All of mine were natural birth. Okay. I'm not going to tell you there was not discomfort. There was. But my plant based eating allowed me to handle it better, a whole lot better. And I was I would say I was more fortunate because my mindset told me there were things I needed to do to prep
Mm.
my body for that. Now, my daughters had children and they did the same thing. I had one daughter who did have to have a C section only because she was having complications. But the rest of my daughters, it was natural. So if we're taught properly, we would understand what each of us goes through. Okay. What a lot of women don't realize is that that strong man of yours, there is there is an enzyme, and there are particulates that hit the air, pheromones. Those men smell it and it causes them to collapse because they are becoming empathetic to what's going on with you.
This is
We're
during the
not,
birth process.
huh?
During
This
the
is
birth
for the
process.
birthing process. That's why you'll see a lot of men will collapse because it's almost as though they're trying to remove the discomfort from you and place it on them. And they're like, what the? And they'll collapse. But it's what they're smelling, the pheromones that are in the air, the energy that's electrified in the air. Looking at that woman going through this causes them to feel all of these things at once.
And yeah, and even I don't know no man that has ever experienced being in that room to be able to explain it. They always say, I can explain to you, but you gotta go through it to really understand it or understand
Correct.
it because it's just unexplainable. What you witness, and then
You're
you know,
witnessing life. Think about that. You can't give life. You see it coming into being, and you're like, OMG, it's magnificent. I'm not saying it's not a lot of work, but it is. The problem is that we are not taught that. So we are devoid, we are not given the right to know these things. And so, like we said, Asia means east, column means pillar, okay? Just like your spinal column, all of that. Then we have the other word was seed, okay? The seed is, it is the forming of the oval or ovary or the ova of the female plant. So the seed is when the ovaries or the ova form after they have received sperm and create a seed. That is what seed means. And only the woman can make the seed inside the womb. It is also known as pistil, pistil. And you know, people, you plant people out there, the ones that grow food, you know what the pestle is. When that flower buds on the top and you go in there and you dig out, you know, the 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 sperm and ovary of the flowering plant and put it on another plant to help it bloom.
yeah,
So
you guys in the chat. That's always every time me and Sister Azima talk on the phone. That's one of the first things she always say. The garden, the garden. It's like always in our conversation. You got a garden? I need to grow some stuff. So she's one of these people that really believes in having these plants, having these fresh vegetables that you can grow, and whether wherever you live at, you can grow it. Don't
yeah,
think you can't grow it and have a small garden if you live in an area that may be rigid, because you can still do it.
right. And Anunnaki, the etymology of that just means people from the sky.
Mm.
It's not people from heaven, because the word heaven means haven, Haven, a safe place. Earth is your haven, your safe place. You don't live on Mars. You don't live on Jupiter or the moons around Jupiter or Neptune or Pluto or Nibiru. You live here on Earth. This
Well, you
is
know
your
they well you know
heaven.
they tried to say Pluto's not a planet anymore.
I know. I love them. If this is your heaven, your haven, your safe place. And it's imperative to have a safe place. Now, I want to get back to what was telling my daughters. There's no good or bad, right or wrong. Okay. There is harmonic balance. Okay. So let me explain. Let me give you my opinion on that. I don't want to be equal to you because your needs are not my needs. I want to be balanced so that I receive the things that I want that balances me out. What is that?
It's a
Lead
late.
Farmer 23 shows you how to grow collard greens in a bucket. Yes, it does. Yeah. Okay. So I always taught my daughters it is imperative that you reach your balance, your harmonic balance. Even though I'm your mother and I gave birth to you and your father gave me, the sperm to produce the seed to give the birth, you are not me. My needs are different than yours. Even though I am raising you, I've always taught my daughters, I do not own you. You were a gift to me to allow you to be born in this time so that I would give you all of the knowledge. I am going to put the knowledge in you. You are the seed. And when you bloom, you will become the better person in your state of harmonic balance. It doesn't mean they don't go through whatever as teenagers or as young women or have, bad relationships, but you nurture them.
Mm.
Your garden can go bad one year because of elements that you have no control over, but you go out there dutifully and you recondition the soil. My children were that. When they reached those places in life where they couldn't, I would have to step back and say, let me recondition that soil so that they would have a better chance to do what they need to do. My daughters were homeschooled. Okay. I have a CPA, I have a doctorate in education, I have a second tier executive in a trucking company. I have a daughter going to school for pharmacology because we need to know the chemicals that we're pulling out of the ground. Okay, we're taking these natural ores out of the ground and we are misusing them. Just like the plants that you put. Most people don't realize. Let me talk about this real quick because I think the irony of this is wonderful. Eggplants, tomatoes, potatoes, and sweet potatoes are in the nightshade family. Do you know what nightshade is? Arsenic. Hello. Yet
Wow.
you eat them. We eat them. We must eat them in moderation. Why? Because over time, in this environment, they become acidic to us and give us inflammation and joint problems.
And that's something that Dr. Sebi, I'm quite sure people that follow his teachings know what those particular vegetables, what they do. Like Sister Azima said, they're an acidic vegetable. And
Right.
we had a
Just
conversation yesterday, me and Sister Azima. She was giving me some advice on health. You know, getting your body, getting your mind right, getting your body to an alkaline state to be able to get that inflammation out of your body. And that's something we'll revisit later, you guys. But
mhm,
it's very important for me talking to someone who has a plant-based diet and getting and I myself have a culinary background, and you start to really understand. For example, when you go in a restaurant, why they give you the salad first? It's a reason.
mhm.
It's not just because they want to give you the salad first. It's a
No.
reason why they give you these plants first,
Mhm,
because it's basically preparing your digestive system for what may be coming after it.
mhm,
And even so much so that why they give you the coffee or tea last, and what
mhm,
that does to your body at the end. So
mhm,
hopefully in the future, me and Sister Azim we're going to talk about it. But y'all know, on YouTube, and YouTube likes to do things when you start talking about certain terms in health, medical, so forth. And it's not, I won't say that it's misinformation. It is actually the information that is essential for us to know our body, know our blood type, know
mhm,
what I could withstand as a man, and Sister Azima may not be able to withstand it, and vice versa.
mhm,
She could do something. I may try to do it, and it
mhm,
may have harm on my body.
mhm. That's why there's such a variety of plants. Not all of us. I can't do echinacea. I will break out in hives and sweats. And I'm like, oh man, you had echinacea in there. My daughter gave me, she said, Mother, you don't feel good. I can tell in your eyes. I'm okay. So she gave me echinacea, but she didn't tell me. And I'm drinking this tea. And next thing I know, I called her up. I said, Daughter, I haven't got hives. Oh, Mama, you're allergic to echinacea? Yes. And the mere fact that we can pinpoint it, and then I knew I needed to do some ginger and some other stuff to stabilize it, and I went ahead and did that, and I felt better. I needed the echinacea, but maybe not in the dose that she gave me. But we will learn. This all goes back to etymology. How would I even know to go and get these other things if I didn't understand what the word meant, how to use it, research it, see what it does? Everything here is vibratory frequency energy, first and foremost. first and foremost. Okay. Then we move to taking a form, physical form. Third matter density, fourth matter density, fifth matter density, sixth matter density. We took this form because it allows us to manipulate the things that we have to manipulate in the frequency realm in order to accomplish certain things, to move all of society, all entities forward in knowledge.
I want to ask you a question, Sister Azima, before,
Uh-huh.
because we're gonna hopefully you guys wrap this up soon. So you got any questions for Sister Azima before she leaves? Put in the chat, and I will put it up on the screen so she can answer it. I want to ask you a question, and it's reference to something that you said, and it brought a thought to me. And you were talking about that light. When somebody has the light, and we always like to say that the person got the halo around them, and
Mm-hmm.
they have this vibrant energy where
Mm-hmm.
you want to be around them. They walk
Mm-hmm.
in the room and instantly. Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain that?
Explain what it is.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, what is your sign? What
Aquarius,
is your birth sign?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Okay. Isn't this the age of Aquarius?
Hmm.
What is the purpose of Aquarius?
Water bearer.
What is the purpose? What is the water?
Oh, oh,
What is water?
life.
It's your spirit.
Hmm.
So if your spirit, the the purpose of Aquarius is to do what? What is your focus to do? What does Aquarius have to do?
Mm, mm, mm. Now you cooking with grease here. Now.
Okay, what's the song? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius. Okay. And then they go on to say that Aquarius is here to teach you understanding, correct?
Hmm.
The role of Aquarius is to shut the door on what we call Pisces. And Pisces doesn't mean fish. Okay. That symbol you see as a fish is a Latin word, which means man of God in physical form. It's a symbol, a mudra, a symbol. Okay. The zodiac symbols are frequency mudras, how energy comes together and presents itself. So, the purpose of Aquarius is to enlighten the spirit and relieve it from the burdens that it had in the past
Mm.
so that you can open the door, this door, the door of knowledge. And okay, when you open that door, you begin to learn. Everybody says if you have knowledge, you are powerful. That is not true. The statement says the man who has gained knowledge must learn how to apply it in order to use it in powerful ways. Remember that. The purpose of knowledge is to gain the door of opening, to learn. Aquarius gives us that door. They are the first ones that say, the spirit is free, it's open, it's time to learn. And we are supposed to go through that, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We are in the eon, the age of Aquarius, which is 3,286 years, which is one complete zodiac sign.
But I got a couple things here.
Mhm.
Mudra sounds like Medusa.
Medusa, the Greek thing is she's the lady with the snakes in her head. All right, let's back this up. Medusa is a rank. It is a form of martial art or law, divine law. The reason you have the woman with the serpent is because the snake undulates like music. When you're writing musical notations and you see these little dots on there and they have a stem and they got more dots on the bottom, if you were to take a highlighter and just Go through that and follow that. It will give you a sine wave. The serpent has the ability to be adaptable. It adapts itself to any condition necessary in order to bring about enlightenment. Lucifer is one that enlightens you. The devil is meaning that you're living life in its rawest form. That's what the devil is. It is evil because you continue to replicate or repeat old habits. Then that becomes an evil condition. So, Aquarius is to bring about knowledge. One who learns, who has the ability to learn, gains knowledge. But it is the ability to apply the knowledge that allows you to use it in a powerful way for many. So it is the application of knowledge. Okay. Even I'm doing some research and came to find out the quote, land of milk and honey. The milk they were talking about was lettuce. The root word for milk comes from lettuce. Okay. And so, because when you squeeze the lettuce, what comes out is white and it looks like milk. Okay. And so, it is the application of knowledge. That's why it's important to know the origin of words. When you have a clearer understanding, you hear people make that statement, I got knowledge, I'm powerful. And you go like, ooh, wee. Ooh, they have a lot to learn.
Mm.
Okay. That means that they are very much ignorant of what it is they're supposed to do. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. This is something my husband taught all of us. He says a wise man has big ears, like a donkey, like Dumbo, the elephant with big ears, big eyes, and no tongue.
With that,
So,
we're going to close out.
so remember that a wise man has big ears, big eyes, and no tongue. I want you to stew on that because
With
when we
that,
come back, I want you to tell me what that means.
with that, we're going to close out. Appreciate Sister Azima for joining us. Hopefully, we'll be back in 2 weeks so we can go. We can really deep get a description of her syllabus, and then the following 2 weeks after that, we can go into questions in reference to the syllabus. But appreciate you guys in the chat for joining us. I know it's been a while. Remember to like, share, subscribe, promote the channel, and until then, we see you. Appreciate, like I said, appreciate Sister Azima for joining us. Appreciate you guys for watching, and take care. And we'll see you soon.